Would you take Hershey's?
Have to.
Try it. Just try it.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Are you guys ready? Are we, did we do our big announcement? Did I just miss that? Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the October 15th, 2024 meeting of the Mecklenburg County Economic Development Committee. I'm Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I have the pleasure of being chair of this committee. So I'm going to make a quick announcement to the public about remote participation. If anyone would like electronic copies of any presentation materials today, please make these requests via email to Megan Witt. Her email address is megan.witt@mecnc.gov. So as per our custom, we begin today's meeting introducing those of us in the room here at the Government Center. I will start on my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Jarrell. I've been elected by the people of District 4. Welcome.
All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Meyer, and I represent District 5.
Good afternoon, Lee Altman, County Commissioner serving at large.
All right. And next we will go with our Deputy County Manager.
Sure thing. Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson.
Roger Johnson, Economic Development Director.
Shahid Rana, Deputy Director.
Keisha Whitley, Economic Development.
Megan Witt, Economic Development.
Agustin Velasquez, Economic Development.
Jackson Irfani, Economic Development.
Aviance McKenzie, Economic Development.
Jamelia Davis, Economic Development. Katie Lloyd, Park and Recreation.
John Walton, Economic Development.
And are those, we have staff?
Yeah, no, we're not staff.
Not staff? Okay. All right. So we'll do staff online.
Yeah, we do. We have Janelle Rosales with Economic Development online. And we also have Brett Clampett with Public Information.
Fantastic. All right. So our guests will introduce themselves when they have their presentation. Okay, so the first item of business we're going to do is approve our meeting minutes from our October 1st meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting minutes are approved. And at this time, I'm going to recognize Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson to introduce our next agenda item.
Awesome. Thank you. And again, good afternoon. Today, what we have before you is a presentation. It's called Providence Square Revitalization Project. It is today for receiving information. And if you have any questions, to put those questions before the group. What I will share with you is this presentation will come back to you again with some additional information like our economic modeling and other types of things like that. And the decision point will not happen into that meeting. So today is just to receive this information. The other thing that I'd like to highlight and note is that we have had, meaning the staff, Park and Recreation, Economic Development, and the manager's office, coupled with conversations. When I say manager's office, it's myself, also conversations around affordable housing, conversations, like I said, Park and Recreation. Bert Lynn has been engaged. Katie's here today, as well as Roger and Shaw have been engaged with understanding this project. The other thing that I will note is with regards to this project, if you looked at the project, and they will highlight some of this for you, if you look at this project as what they required as a developer, which I will call the zoning requirements, and where we are today with them, it is a vast difference. We have been able, they came to us and said they were interested in doing a few things. I kept pushing the ball. They could probably attest that, yes, she kept pushing the ball with regards to some things that we wanted to see to ensure the benefits that we felt that we could garner out of this project. This project is supported by Park and Recreation for some things that we'll highlight later. But with that as the backdrop, being mindful of time, I'd like, I don't know who's taking the lead. Are you taking the lead, Jeff? Okay, and could you introduce the team? Awesome, thank you.
Thanks so much. We will, each one of the four of us will have a little bit of speaking role and introduce each other as we go along. But first, thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks so much to the committee. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. A big thanks to Dr. Johnson and her team. As she mentioned, Leslie mentioned, there's been a number of meetings and communications at good sessions with Bert Lynn. Katie, I think you've been involved in some of those early on with Roger, with Shaw, LaShonda Hart. And we've really have appreciated just the time that people have taken to slow down and give us input and really and guide us a little bit through this process. I know we're now just meeting first with y'all today, but we recognize this is first. There'll be opportunities for feedback today, and we hope opportunities in the going forward weeks. So thanks again. My colleagues with me at Morven Allen, Keith McVeigh and Ashley Rosenborough had months earlier conflicts, are not here today, but we're pleased to assist Levine Properties on this unique redevelopment. And as I think it's unpacked, when we unpack it, I think you'll see there's an opportunity to revitalize really 60-year-old and older buildings in an area that right there has seen its better day, but with the help of Dr. Johnson and others, to do so in a way that we feel like we're supporting some of the county board's priorities. Not all of them. This is a development project, but we think we have a unique situation with the Greenway and the open space and the parks to make some real good contributions in that regard. Again, we're pleased to have this opportunity for the first time today with the committee, but look forward to getting your feedback along the way. Other things we've mentioned, Leslie mentioned housing support goals, MWSB efforts, none of which are going to strike an incredible blow in solving the problems in the county, but we think they will help and make things improve those for a lot of your focused priority needs. We do feel like with the roll-up meetings we've had, Leslie and the team did push, and I think you'll see some of the progression of that along the way. We are working with the city on the rezoning, but we're pleased to be here first before the county ED committee and our first public opportunity to talk about this. Let me move to the next slide. There we go. This is fine. You can keep this one up. I'm just going to really set the stage for a little bit more detailed presentations. Again, with me today are Daniel Levine, chairman of Levine Properties, Mike Wilson, who's senior vice president and general counsel for Northwood Raven, and Daniel Molina, who's president of Levine Properties. This sort of just in one place sums it up. You can see the location off of Providence Road, but when we get to the Greenway, we think there's a unique opportunity to be connecting much more broadly than just this Providence Road immediate area. And some of the goals that we're looking at, the open space environmental stewardship goal in several ways, the greenways, the parks, to the contributions to activation of the parks. Workforce and affordable housing is included by way of the Levine project, and also across the street in Livian is proposing a project there as well to bring a mixed in community. MWSB goals to get at the diversity and racial disparity efforts, and also some more sustainability efforts that are in the weeds perhaps, but EV charging stations, mobility, potential for a mobility hub, a lot of intermodal opportunities. So we think we're doing a good job in some of those areas. We do believe there will be, even during the tax increment grant and after, an increase in the tax revenues over what would happen if the project didn't have community support. And we do think that can provide some support for the services and the outcome needs of what you're focused on as leaders of our community. I'll turn it now over to Daniel Levine to give a little background, and then we'll continue on. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Leslie, and the county staff leadership that we've met with previously, and the committee for this first opportunity to meet with you and share with you this exciting opportunity. By way of introduction, and by the way, I love Charlotte. I was born here. I'm a lifelong Mecklenburg County resident in East Charlotte. My father, Alvin Levine, and my uncles, Leon and Sherman, moved to Mecklenburg County in the mid-50s from Rockingham, North Carolina, and each ultimately building retail businesses in Mecklenburg County along Central Avenue. I attended Charlotte-Mecklenburg Public Schools, graduated from East Mecklenburg, and in 1984, after graduating from Chapel Hill, came back and started Levine Properties 40 years ago this year. Can't believe it's been that long, but it has. And so, we're a family that came from small town North Carolina and had good fortune to grow family-owned companies here. And Charlotte has indeed been good to our family. And, we're committed to giving back through both philanthropy as well as reinvesting in Charlotte with sustainable development that will have lasting impact and making our community a better place to live. And I think through this project, we can demonstrate that. Our companies work throughout the Sun Belt and across Charlotte, but we've made the decision at this time to concentrate on mixed-use residential commercial projects here in Charlotte, similar to the revitalization of Providence Square. We've also been successful in collaborating with Mecklenburg County on a major project before, and that's the First Ward Park, where we built that park and delivered it to the county along with Lee Jones and Leslie, along with UNC Charlotte's Center City campus and substantial infrastructure redevelopment throughout First Ward. Over the course of many decades, we've participated in business and philanthropic initiatives in the county and city and region that really seek to uplift and support our growing and diverse community with the emphasis on arts, health, education, and housing. I began investing in the Providence Road Corridor 39 years ago, and in the past few years, the deterioration of the old Providence Square apartments, 60 years old, forced us to reimagine the future because they were at the end of their physical life. We're now in the final stages of demolishing those units. In doing so, we worked hard with the then existing residents in their successful relocations. This included hiring a relocation specialist on a full-time basis. And over 16 months, we worked with everybody to successfully relocate them to their new homes. Our experience has made us especially mindful of the importance of mixed income communities, which is why we propose to include on our property 108 workforce housing units. And we're pleased to coordinate alongside of Enlivian across the street, who plans for 75 or more affordable units. So, we can move ahead on our own with much more modest redevelopment plan, but I strongly believe that with a partnership, the county and the city on a more robust revitalization effort, we can incorporate many of the county's objectives and goals for new parks and open space, greenway connectivity to McAlpine Creek Greenway, and other elements that support many of the other county priorities. Thank you. Allow me now to introduce Mike Wilson of Northwood Raven, who we've been working with on the 20-acre site across Providence Road. And as mentioned, we're coordinating with a rezoning effort with Enlivian and Horizon on a site adjacent to that 20-acre site with plans on approximately 75 or more affordable units. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. I'm Mike Wilson. I'm the Senior Vice President at Northwood Raven. We're unique in that we both develop and build our own product. We were invited to this project by Daniel Levine, and we got excited about his vision. We don't own the land. We have it under contract subject to a rezoning with Mr. Levine, but we kind of,
thank you, Shai. But we get it. We buy into it. The property that we would purchase from Mr. Levine, if we get it rezoned, is located just south of the Enlivian parcel. And we were asked to consider doing a public park, and I didn't really get that. We hadn't done that before. So I went over and met with Bert Lynn and Katie Lloyd, and I said, you really want a pocket park on Providence Road? And they said, we really do. We think this is a priority. I said, all right, well, what does that look like? And so we talked through it, and I started to understand about the vision that Parks and Rec had. And so we were very intentional. You'll see when the slides come that we placed the park, and we think it has about a $1.2 million value right on the line between our property and Enlivian's, because the concept that Bert and Katie and I came up with was that everyone in the shared communities area could use the public park. It would become an asset. And then we worked on safe transit for people, bikes across Providence Road so they could get to the enhanced greenway that Daniel Levine and his team are building. So we're pretty excited about it. We're glad to answer any questions later about it, but that was something we hadn't done before. But I'm not going to say I got leaned on, but I got sold on the idea, and I'm excited about it. Now, Dr. Johnson might choose a different word, but we're invested in the process. So I'll turn it back over to Jeff and Daniel Molino now.
And we'll move quickly through some of the material, and because I know we're mindful of the agenda and constraints that we have. So Daniel.
Sure. Good to be with you all. I'm Daniel Molino, president of Levine Properties. Pleased to give you a little bit more detail on the project. So the revitalization covers 110 acres along Providence Road and Old Providence and Sardis Lane, much of which consisted of the 60-year-old deteriorated Providence Square apartments. As the buildings, as Daniel mentioned, reached the end of their physical life, we were forced to demolish them as we seek to redevelop and reimagine a mixed-use community and a neighborhood center promoting 10-minute walkable communities and connecting more broadly to dozens of neighborhoods by way of new connections to the McAlpine Greenway. Daniel Levine mentioned that we're proud of our efforts with respect to successfully relocating the prior residents of Providence Square. This slide illustrates the project master plan features and summarizes the range of community benefits that we seek to provide in partnership with the county and the city. 4.4 acres of land shown in two places. I think there is a pointing feature, but on the bottom right-hand side, Pocket Park adjacent to the Greenway, and then as Mike referenced, the Pocket Park on the west side of Providence Road in between the Horizon and the Northwood Raven parcels, along with a $1 million contribution to the activation of these parks. A new bridge spanning the McAlpine Creek and tying into the Greenway, along with half a mile of multi-use paths and pedestrian trails that connect residents up and down McAlpine Greenway into the mixed-use hub, provide connectivity across the street from the Horizon and Northwood Raven parcels as well. We've mentioned helping to address housing insecurity with 108 workforce housing units at 80% AMI on the Levine side, to be paired with the approximately 75 affordable units on the Enlivian parcel. We commit to support diversity and economic mobility goals with MWSBE minimum targets of 15%. And as mentioned, we will support sustainability goals by stabilizing water and sewer usage, installing EV charging stations, and considering the incorporation of innovative mobility hub initiatives. This slide shows how the site is uniquely positioned in our view, adjacent to the McAlpine Creek Greenway in a manner that can connect dozens of neighborhoods, extending from the existing Greenway and the Independence Boulevard area on the east, and over time to the west by way of the planned future Greenway extensions. This multimodal opportunity for Greenway trails to connect people to places is exactly what the Meck County Playbook seeks to promote. We believe that the significant new bridge over the Greenway and expanded multi-use paths and trails are important features that will connect thousands of residents to a destination, promoting healthy lifestyles, non-vehicular connections to goods and services, and social capital connections. The revitalization and creation of this new mixed-use center and sense of place on a corridor like Providence Road is challenging from a transportation and road improvements standpoint. We've worked over many months with both CDOT and NCDOT, studying over 22 intersections and developing an extensive list of road improvements to mitigate the traffic from the new development. In addition, we worked on several access management interventions and improvements along Providence Road, roughly a 2-mile stretch that will enhance safety and enhance traffic flow. I'm now going to turn it back over to Jeff to provide a few more details.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. As Leslie said, during our several meetings, there has been a progression, which we appreciate. I mean, we did start sort of with the base zoning requests that we're going through, and that has been sort of continued along a continuum. So on the far left hand side is really sort of the base project. We made some other commitments along the way for land, for housing, and also for some contributions to the bridge. But then if you look at the far right side, you see kind of where we've come further through these discussions. And those include, for example, having taken the earlier Parklands donation of 2.75 acres has now been increased to 4.4 acres, resulting in the locations that Daniel showed, resulting in a total value of the combined land acreage. These are estimates in around $2.9 million. In addition, initially there was going to be, we weren't really talking about park activation, but in discussions with Bert and others, the notion, yes, and it benefits the project too to add activation, no doubt, but there is also the benefit to the community, particularly as you think about the intermodal connectivity. So we're looking at $1 million donation to provide more than minimum seed money for the park activation. That we think can go a long way based on our discussions with Bert on the park activation. In addition, initially as to the Greenway Bridge, and again, Daniel, if you may want to go back to that, just to make it very clear to folks, if you go back to the Greenway, you can see the connection down at the bottom right-hand corner, the circle. This is a challenged area of the Greenway, but it's a wonderful low connectivity spot, but it's challenging. So it's got a lot of topos. So that initially there was a plan to talk about a $250,000 donation to start the Greenway as the seed money. Well, now there's a commitment as part of this public-private partnership to provide for the full Greenway connection there, which is estimated to be about $2.5 million. So it would be built and installed in full. And then I guess the other would be, we've talked also about the NWSBE targets of 15% and some other areas that are being discussed, other upward economic mobility opportunities, potentially working with Charlotte Rock and some of the other groups in town to be able to, and we're open to suggestions in that regard from the commission and others of how we can sort of strike a blow for opportunities for youth and employment in these construction trades. The final thing I'd say is we've also had a discussion just of late with regard to potentially moving the fire station in a land swap as part of the project. There's a fire station that can be moved closer to Providence Road, supporting public safety timing and accessibility, but also allowing it to be more of a prominent location. So those are some of the things that we've been able to talk about. This next slide is a lot, but bear with us. The attempt here is to try to put in one place the sort of public-private framework of these public benefits, and basically to demonstrate, we believe, that this partnership will also be ensured that the developer is carrying more than its fair share to try to provide for some of these public benefits. So if you go down the list, you can see, and I don't need to go through each item in great detail. We start with the land donation, and I've mentioned the dollar figures and the acreage of the park activation contribution, connecting to the Greenway. And this is a mixed use path we really haven't highlighted, but you saw all those connections that not only take it from the Greenway into the mixed use center, across the street, all those things we think will not only enliven the developments, but allow neighborhoods nearby to be able to connect in as well. The bridge we've talked about, that piece, contributions to walking trails. We have estimated, this is an estimate based upon the rent differential and providing for market rate versus the 80% AMI, roughly in the neighborhood of 9.9 million of that over the course of that project. Those are estimates. People can come up with those with different numbers, but that's our estimate of what that contribution would be, because we believe firmly that that's a tremendous community benefit. And frankly, maybe even in this location, it's been challenging sometimes to encourage housing, sometimes in the Crescent. If we go further, we talk about some of the road improvements that are listed in 3 buckets. There's the offsite improvements for roads. There's also some access management improvements on Providence Road. What that means is perhaps not having people go out on all these right turns or left turns, being able to have them go to traffic signals instead, that encourages greater safety for Providence Road. And then there's some new networks. You saw earlier a new connection from Providence Road to Old Providence, a new connection through the site, so people aren't going up to that crazy intersection at Old Providence and Sardis Lane, which is kind of a mess, things of that nature throughout the site. So what's that all mean? This is our rough estimate, about $68 million, what we would call public improvements. Those are public roads, parks, greenways, yes, the housing contribution. The developer would be investing those all up front and ensuring that the park donations took place at the same time. And then you can see at the bottom, roughly an estimate of that and is about 72%, over 70% of that cost would then be borne by the developer, with the balance by way of the participation from the city and the county, and the city by way of the tax increment grant. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So this committee is very familiar with the tax increment grant structure. So I'll just repeat some things that I think y'all are all very well aware of. But the project that we're dealing with would talk about a 45% tax increment grant at $19 million. And as you saw, that's roughly about 30% of the public costs. And of that 19 million, by the way, the tax breakdown, we'd be roughly at a little more than 12 million on the county side and more like 6 to 7 million from the city side in terms of the allocations. That 45% obviously would still allow 55% of the new tax revenues that are coming in by way of the development to go into the general fund during the tax increment grant period. Couple of important things: the city, the county would not be advancing any dollars up front. Obviously, these would be by way of reimbursement from the new tax dollars that are generated from the project. The public improvements would need to be finished or donated prior to the first reimbursement amount. There would be 100% of the tax of the risk if we have a 9/11 or an event that stalls the project, and the developers already put these dollars in the ground or provided for the contributions, those tax revenues may not be as robust as they had hoped. That risk falls on the developer. Similarly, if the cost of the project, which most often they do, if their cost overruns, that falls back on the developer, as opposed to on the way in which a lot of communities do these, where they become bonds and they fall back on the bondholders and the public in that regard. So I'm going to wrap up, and then we'll be delighted to answer questions. And I hope we haven't abused our time today. We know there's a lot to review here, in part because we've had a lot of productive meetings, we feel like, with senior county staff, and again, with our appreciation. And this first introduction will lead to further questions. We're confident. We do believe this partnership will allow not only the revitalization of kind of a tough area, but also because of the Greenway connectivity, it's a unique opportunity, maybe a model for other parts of the community where I know y'all are just really focused on as well, but could be a model to be able to provide these connections to other parts of the community. The idea being a partnership. You have the developer working with the county and the city all over for more of the benefit of the entire community in kind of a unique way because of the Greenway connections, the parks, the workforce and affordable housing that we're trying to include, some of the efforts for the diversity with the MWSB and otherwise, and these other elements that we've talked about. There is some similarity. I will say it's probably not as big a project, but there is some similarity, frankly, from my perspective. I worked on the Ballantyne Reimagine project in that we really are leveraging a lot of the open space and Greenway principles that were used at Ballantyne that I think you're seeing a little bit on display. And yes, the participation on some of the infrastructure as well. We're very appreciative of this time that we have. Once again, with our thanks to the staff, we're wide open to get your feedback. We know this will be a process, and we thank you for the time and open to questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We have about 10 minutes for discussion, and what I'd like to do is start with Commissioner Meyer. This is in her district, and even though I drive through it every day of my life,
You know where it is.
yeah, oh my God, I know where it is. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Yes, it's in my district, and I'm really happy to see that something's going to happen there because I know that area up close and personal, and it was awful. So it really is in dire need of help. And I saw that it was demolished. The rest of it is not part of yours. That's not Providence Square. To the right, if you're looking at it, all the demolished part, that's what we're
If you're
talking about.
facing south, you're talking about
If
facing
you're
south.
looking at it, going down the driveway into Providence Square from Providence Road. you're what's been demolished, not to the right at all.
That's
I
correct.
can't remember what that's called
That's
over there.
Providence Square.
The reserve. I think.
Providence Square is over here.
Reserve. It's
Yeah.
called the Reserve.
I'm sorry,
It's called the Reserve.
the reserve, and that's not part of this at
It's
all.
not part of our.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up in my own head. About the affordable, the workforce housing, and then Livian, can you go back to number 5, slide 5, or whoever's got it? Thank you. So tell me where the Livian property is. Is it to the left of
It's
Providence
the,
Road?
it's the one outside, outlined in blue.
Okay, and then what's north of that? What is that, or south of that? Where I can't tell which direction.
The orange is the Northwood Raven parcel.
And that's going to be
This is Mike's parcel.
so I guess my question is, where will there be your 80% AMI housing? Is that part of Enlivian? Is that in partnership with Enlivian, or that is completely separate and that is you?
That is on the Levine side, so it will be incorporated into this project on the right-hand side of Providence Road.
Okay, because that's not where, okay, because I did speak to LaShonda today, LaShonda Hart, and she really did, she said great things, particularly about the infrastructure, and also looking at this, you guys have really paid attention to the infrastructure and, the traffic that's going to happen, all the extra cars is going to happen, so I appreciate that. I am impressed with the workforce units. Wish it was closer to 60%, but I understand. So I am appreciative of the 80% AMI. And so I'm trying to, so why are we including the Enlivian on this? Why do y'all include this?
The 3 petitions have been coordinated from the outset.
Okay.
Our petition on the Levine side, the Northwood Raven petition, and the Enlivian petition. We all engaged in this process, filed petitions around the same time. We've gone through the public hearing process consecutively at the same
On the
time.
rezoning side.
On the rezoning side, participated together in the traffic infrastructure discussion and the traffic study. And so that's the nature of the coordination.
Have you heard from any neighbors in the area? Any complaints? No one's come to me.
No,
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
I was gonna say, so I started touching all of our neighbors about 2.5 years ago, letting them know this was on the horizon, that we were beginning to think about a reimagination of this area, that these units were coming to the end of their physical life. And we met with every neighborhood that touched this property and heard their feedback and tried to incorporate their feedback. And to date, I would not say that there's 100% full-throated endorsement, but I would say there is appreciation and there is acceptance of what is getting ready to go down, because their concerns, their primary concerns, have been incorporated into the plan. And so there is full-throated support with some residents, because they saw what was there and they wanted to see a grocery store. They wanted to see food and beverage. They wanted to see the neighborhood come back, because they think, with good reason, that it will improve the quality of life and the property values around their houses.
My last question is, what happened to the residents who were there? Do you know where they went?
They went all over. So we knew that this was going to take place. We hired a full-time relocation specialist through our property manager, RKW. We invited other apartment communities on site on Saturdays. We worked with everybody who wanted to be relocated, and they were throughout the Charlotte area.
Okay. So, okay. That's good.
Nobody was denied. Nobody was evicted. Nobody was thrown out. We extended leases. Nobody paid penalties. It was a Herculean effort, 473 units.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. That's what I was worried about. All right. Thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Altman.
I'm really excited. I'm, thrilled to see the collaboration with Dr. Johnson and our economic development and park and recreation teams. That's a lot of housing at lower price points. So it's absolutely the kind of partnership that we're looking for. And so I just first want to say thank you for the effort, because it's definitely exciting for me to hear about this. Dr. Johnson, on slide 9, I assume that your team has validated the dollar figures represented there in terms of the benefit being conferred.
Yes, and we'll be doing additional deep dives. So what I committed to you is stating that this is the initial tee up for it. When we come back, we'll have the economic and we'll do the additional due diligence with the numbers as well.
Okay.
Present those to you at that time.
And how long are the 80% AMI, 30 to 60% AMI? What's the time period for those commitments?
The 80% AMI units are committed for 15 years. The affordable units on the Enlivian parcel are longer, as those are part of their program.
15 years on the 80%, you said? What about the 30 to 60?
Those are part of the
That's the
Enlivian
Enlivian.
product.
That's the
Right.
Enlivian. Is that 15% lower than what we've typically seen?
I mean, 15 years?
Yes, sorry.
It varies. Of course, they're managing to the development costs. We did put that in part of our conversation to say, could you look at your numbers and see if there's anything else that can be done? But those are earlier conversations that we had. So.
I obviously like it that it's a TIG. I like the opportunity. I mean, I appreciate the fact that the risk is on the developer, not on the taxpayer. I like the fact that your team would validate year in, year out the revenues coming in so that we always know we are plus for the taxpayer on the plus side of the ledger. How would the park, we have a schedule for parks getting completed. And there are lots of parks that need to get completed that have been waiting a long time. So when you have something like this with a private entity willing to come in and pay for a lot of it, but not all of it, how does that mess up the priority that we have carefully orchestrated for our other commitments?
We've discussed it and they have an awareness. This doesn't assume a leapfrog that comes in and takes something else out. It gets in the queue with the rest. We have in this conversation, I mean, we're still on our early phase of what will be FY30 as part of our CIP. And so that's kind of how we're contemplating what we're proceeding with. We have not made a commitment in our deliberations that we'll move something else up, move this up and move something else down at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Commissioner Terrell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One, let me start off by saying thank you for the presentation. I've been on this board for 6 years. I've been on the committee for 6 years. I don't know if we've ever had a project where we're participating with the city, where the county lens was applied at first. I don't think we've had that since I've been sitting here. And when I look at all of the benefits, and typically we're trying to solve to this thing in the 12th hour, all of the elements. So I want to just say thank you to staff, number one, for really understanding where we are as a committee and then also as a board. I appreciate the thoughtfulness around understanding the board's priorities. That is really paramount, and not just saying it, but also demonstrating it. I think that's phenomenal. Economic mobility and opportunity are really important to us. And so when you think about all of those things as it relates to MWSBE and just participation, and then when you look at the affordable units that are included, I think this is a fantastic start to this discussion, without question. I also appreciate Enlivian's giving us the Enlivian part of this project, because it allows us to understand that, while we're talking about 110 acres, there's really more to this whole equation. And I do think that that's important because, again, we've got 30 to 60% units that will be there as well. So you really do have a real mix, economic mix that really, when you think about this equation of opportunity, is important. The final point that I would just comment on, when you look at that spine as far as the Greenway, the potential Greenway connectivity running east-west, and the neighborhoods, I would love to be able to understand the neighborhoods that we're potentially can touch, and what are the other elements that we would need to really get that spine and what that looks like in the overall plan. I mean, this could be a real game changer on a lot of different levels. So again, Madam Chair, I think this is a really, really solid start to this conversation. And I do want to say thank you for your thoughtfulness and for understanding what our priorities are. And certainly to Dr. Johnson. It sounds like you guys were in that blender with Dr. Johnson.
The Quasar, I think.
I kept pushing.
That's right. So thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Okay, we only have like a couple minutes here. I just wanted to echo a lot of what my colleagues have said. This is extremely exciting project. I love all the connectivity. The old, like Eckards and Harris Teeter and all that, I'm not situated with what's on the left and what's on the right that you said is not part of it. Is the old Providence Square going to be demolished?
No, the old retail shopping center that used to have a Harris Teeter.
Yep.
Is now Moments of Hope Church.
Oh,
David
yeah.
Chadwick's
Yep.
new church.
Right.
We demolished one of the buildings and are in the process of renovating the last building, but the buildings that have been renovated are fully leased.
They're fully
leased to neighborhood businesses. I think there's a total of eight tenants of,
So that
touring.
stays.
That all stays.
That all stays. And then is there additional retail and things like that, or is the rest of it all housing? I'm trying to
So
understand.
this is what we were just referring to, the existing.
Uh-huh.
So this is what we're looking at as a mixed use hub. And this is where there will be additional food and beverage, retail, goods and services in a pedestrian friendly mixed use village concept.
Is the tennis court staying? Where is the tennis courts?
The tennis courts are on this parcel up here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, there's two tennis courts.
That's true. There were tennis courts associated with the multifamily that are right
okay.
here.
Okay.
But the tennis center, the Russell Tennis Center
Yeah.
is on
That's
that
up there.
parcel.
Okay. And so the park that you were talking about, Mike, okay. That's the bottom part that's in orange. Oh, no, that's that little green.
That's this little
Yeah,
park
that-
right there.
yeah,
Oh,
that was
little
there.
itty bitty green part.
No,
Okay.
but I talked to
I thought it
Bert
was a
and Ca-
bigger,
Right,
oh, okay.
but
No,
they
it's-
thought it had value if it was right on Providence Road. And I said, well, great. Well, then let's
Ah.
put it so that all the community, both the communities can use it and interact.
Okay.
And that's what
And-
Bert and Katie thought
How
would
big
do.
is that? Over there.
That's, it's almost 1 acre. So it's .75. It worked out to a perfect rectangle.
So out of 110 acres is the total amount of property we're talking about? Is that right? Only 4.4 of it is going to be park? Is that correct?
That would be for actual dedicated park. If you look at the other areas, you can see so much of the other green and open space that goes with it from the trails going in and others. But the dedicated portion would be down in the bottom right-hand corner there near the Greenway,
Okay.
which is, that's a little bit over 3 some acres. And then you have the pocket park on the other side.
Okay.
But
And
the open space, we'll try to do a better job because you can see some of the open space up in the major village area.
uh-huh.
And then you can see, for example, on the right-hand side, that's 100-foot area. That's 100-foot buffer along the residential area. All of that will be open space. And we've actually had some discussions with Dr. Johnson and Bert about how some of those areas might be able to have some potential activation and
Okay.
going forward.
Okay. Forgive me. I'm so out of time. What's
Yeah.
the white part?
Yeah, that's probably, That's going to be principally new development in the multifamily space. That's where
New
the
housing.
existing units have been.
Okay. So that's in addition to the other part.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay, so if we have 75 affordable from Enlivian and 108 workforce, what's the total number? Like, what
On the
percentage is
Levine
that?
On the Levine side, it's 987 units.
Ah, okay. And these are rental units, 987 rental units. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I'm
Thank you.
sorry that we're.
I hope we didn't run over. I apologize if
No,
we did. Thank you.
we do have to kind of like
Enthusiastic.
rush you guys
Yes.
out the door because we have to go into closed session, but
Thank you so much.
yeah, I'd love to see how this develops. It's exciting.
Thank
for
you
us.
again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, these two. I'm good. I feel like I was having a good job. Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm iffy. I'm iffy and I just want to
Okay.
be real careful for
Yeah.
you. But thank you for coming.
Yeah. I was just very honored, but to the extent that it's not.
Daniel Levine, I've heard so much
It's so
about you.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I want to protect your health.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. Appreciate you. Talk soon.
Yes,
Really
yes,
very
yes.
appreciative.
Oh, I think it's going to be great. And we look forward to unpacking this one. It's dense and complicated. But I think it's really well.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Honestly, provides an opportunity for the county to show community economic development.
All right. Sorry, Shaw, you're gonna have to talk fast.
Really fast.
Thank you so much. Stay in touch.
I need a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're unanimous to go in closed session. Out